I think salespeople are change agents. Again, that should be part of the mindset, is that we are trying to more often not move customers from the status quo, where we know that people love to sit there, well, let's not change anything. It's just easier, less risky.
Welcome to the Modern Selling Podcast, where we help the entire sales community to create more sales conversations with today's modern buyer. This includes anyone from entrepreneurs and business owners to sales reps and sales leaders. Each episode, you will hear from sales leaders, practitioners, and influencers to help you find, engage, connect, and nurture your relationships with your buyers. I'm Mario Martinez Jr., your host, and you're now listening to the Modern Selling Podcast. This episode is brought to you by Gong, the #1 revenue intelligence platform for sales teams. Gong helps you achieve revenue goals by capturing and understanding every customer interaction, then delivering insights at scale so you can win more deals and increase rep productivity. Get powerful visibility into your customer conversations with Gong. Head to www.gong.io to get started. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this episode of the Modern Selling Podcast. And I'm excited to bring you this discussion. We've talked about EQ, IQ, but what about PQ? That's right. I've got the man, the myth, the legend, the expert, Fred Copestake. Do you know who he is? I do. He wrote the book, Selling Through Partnering Skills. And I've got my friend, Mr. Fred Copestake. Fred, welcome to the show, my friend.
Brilliant. Thank you for having me, Mario. Good to be here.
I'm excited that you're here with us. So do me a favor, tell our audience a little bit about yourself. As you know, there's a lot of sales experts, trainers in the marketplace, and I don't have just anyone on the show. I've got those that are they've got it, right? They've got the it factor, and you're one of them. So tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, and then I got a very special question to get to know you a little bit, and our audience wants to know.
Sure, yeah. So it's Fred Copestake, and you got the pronunciation right, which is cool, because I get chopstick, cupcake, soap flake, cheapskate. Oh, I think no, Copestake. So yeah. Cool. You got founder of Brindis, so sales training consultancy, as you've said. I mean, I've been doing that for 22 years. Traveled around the world 14 times. Been to 36 countries. Worked with over 10,000 salespeople. So, I love doing this stuff. It's great. It's given me the opportunity to do that. And it was sort of a couple of years, or a year ago, really, I took the things which really make a difference now in modern selling, because we know there's quite a shift. It's gone through evolutions, and put those into the book, Selling Through Partnering Skills. And so that's now the basis of the stuff that I'm doing with sales professionals in complex B2B sales, on how they can really make a difference, how they can have maximum impact. And really sort of by collaborating more, because that's for me where the action's at, how they can really make a difference.
Fantastic. So you've been at this for a while, and working with doing sales training and coaching, and so that's phenomenal. How did you get into it?
I went to a training company and said that I could do that job. But it wasn't as simple as that. What happened was that I'd sat in on a sales training course. I thought, hey, that's pretty cool. I could do that. So I went to them and said so. And they said, yeah, come in and have a conversation. I'm like, yeah, I'm the man. And they said, you're totally not suited for what you proposed yourself for. So I had a massive come down. I said, but there is a job that your timing is spooky. We're just about to advertise for this, which is to take a full-time sales trainer, which is to really love one of the courses we run, which is called the Essentials for Success. So it's the first sales course anybody would go on. It was when we used to run open courses, and this would be run twice a month, 3-day residential. People would come on. It was their first exposure to sales, which is a real privilege to run it, actually. And they just wanted someone to sort of bring it up to date and love it and look after it and take it and do that. And that's what they offered me. And so I started doing that. And did that for a couple of years. That and the sister course, the follow-on course. before moving into more of the in company stuff. But yeah, that's how I got started. I decided I wanted to.
Yeah, good. And now you launched the book, Selling Through Partnering, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And tell us a little bit about that. Why did you write the book?
So, as I say, it's having seen the evolutions of sales and knowing that, having done lots of training, and you've probably heard this, people will often say, oh, yeah, I did some sales training, and then name a year, which is usually not that same year, and think, oh, you're missing a point here. Sales has evolved. Things have happened. We've got to do stuff to keep up to date. And I wanted to try and capture those evolutions and say, look, there's still a lot of good stuff that we've done in the past. So let's not throw this away, but we do need to bring it up to date. And we do need to make sure that people are acting in a collaborative way, more collaborative than ever before. And so it was the partnering skills, which when I came across these, I just thought, wow, every salesperson should be across this. You don't have to be a partner manager. You don't have to be selling in channel. This stuff is for everybody, direct or indirect, because it gets your mindset right. And I just thought, that's what I want to give to the world of sales, if you like. I want to sort of help people be as up to date as they possibly can. Mm-hmm. That was my driver behind it.
Well, we're going to talk a little bit more about the partnering skills aspects, and I'm very curious about how this does not just apply to channel managers, partner managers, those types of things. This is very much applicable to all sellers, field, inside, virtual, whatever you want to call it. But before we go there, one question for you. Tell us something about yourself that nobody would know, even if they looked at all of your social profiles. And I'm looking for something juicy. Everybody, I always say this, give me something juicy on this.
It depends how juicy. So, yeah, there's another one I might tell you near the end, but the one which kind of springs to mind is that I was on Argentinian television.
Oh.
Yeah.
Doing what?
Well, actually, nothing to do with this conversation. So something that I used to be heavily involved with is rugby, and I used to referee. And I got to a pretty decent level. And as part of my development, they sent me on an exchange. So they said, off you go to Argentina for 2 weeks and referee some games there, which is pretty cool in itself. And so a couple of the games were televised, but the main, I've been on Argentinian television a load of times, because the main one was that when they learned that I spoke Spanish, they said, interesting, interesante. Okay, pick you up on Tuesday, put your number ones on. Number ones is blazer, tie, all the proper thing. So where we're going, said, doesn't matter. The host picked me up, took me, and when we arrived at the television studios, I realized what was happening. I was the guest on this television show, the sort of the local sports show, about what it was like refereeing England, what it was like finding in Argentina, how the trip was, and all this kind of thing. So, it was pretty cool, actually.
Very cool.
What wasn't cool is I hadn't done any media training, so I might not have come across as professionally as I wanted. But yeah, it was really good fun. It was really good fun. Good times.
Well, I would argue, though, that those of us that are in sales that speak for a living, that we probably don't need much media training, but maybe so. I mean, maybe, like, some of us could actually get up and perform quite well, and I'm sure you did. I'm sure you did just fine.
Right, between us, and hopefully the wife won't listen to this, the presenter was a stunning Argentinian lady. And I was a bit distracted when I thought the camera wasn't looking at me, but hey.
I gotcha. Fair enough. Very good. Well, that helped ease the situation. That's for sure.
Yeah, no, it was good fun. It was good fun.
Excellent. Well, listen, let's get into talking about the book, Selling Through Partnering Skills. And I'm curious, first off, why did you write the book? As
I was saying, really, it was to just do my bit to try to help salespeople get up to date. So part of it was for that frustration that I've told you that, when we run sales training, people say, oh, I've done sales training before. Yeah, but that's probably some time back. And I really wanted to sort of have a framework and a decent model that I could point to and say, look, this is where sales is going, and this is why it's going there. And so this is what you can start to use and how you can start to think to be absolutely up to date. And so I wanted to capture that essence of the partnering skills of the PQ and use that within the sales approach. And as you say, can use that whether you're selling directly, whether you're selling indirectly. And again, internal, external, doesn't matter. If you're a salesperson, these elements should be speaking to you.
And define PQ for me.
So PQ, or partnering quotient, as I said to you just before we start recording, it's like the lesser known cousin of IQ and EQ. And it's stuff that's been researched. So this isn't a Fred Copestake invention. This is sort of back in the 90s, a guy called Steve Dent was doing a lot of work around what are the skills that people who are good in partnering have. And he was working with people who are doing the sort of big multinational alliance type things.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, people partner, organizations don't. So he looked at the people skills and what the people who are good at doing this had. And when you look at them, or as a sales professional, you'll go, oh yeah, I'm getting this straight away. Because the elements are trust, ability to trust, win-win focus, comfort with interdependence, so giving up a bit of control to other people because they're going to have an impact on your success, self-disclosure and feedback, so giving a little bit about yourself, help people know what your expectations are, equally letting other people know if they're not helping the partnership, if they're not helping the relationship, comfort with change, because as salespeople, we're selling change anyway, and we're going to have to do things differently ourselves, and future orientation. Looking forward, making decisions based on where we're going rather than what we've always done, what might have worked in the past. And so I just looked at these and thought that's every sale. If those aren't involved in some way, shape or form in what you're selling, you probably need to have a little bit of a look at yourself. Because even if it's a very transactional sale, it might be a one-off, the ethos, the mindset, the way in which you apply that thinking would rub off on the way in which you operate. So the more complex, the bigger ticket, the more value-based enterprise sale you're in, there's more opportunity to sort of display those and really bring those to life. But for me, every sale should have that stuff in. If it hasn't, I don't really want to be involved with it because we're now not talking what I would call professional. So,
yeah, you know what? Something I really appreciate you mentioned is organizations don't partner, people do, and that is whether you apply that to a true channel partnership model or a partnering engagement, where you're actually, an organization strikes up a new reseller agreement, a new partner, a new channel, a new VAR, a new whatever it might be. You got to have somebody that's working in the trenches to get that top of mind. And then this really extends out to also partnering both internal to sell and external to sell as well. So maybe expand on this concept that organizations don't partner, people do, and how it's applicable in the field sales model, virtual sales model, remote sales, and channel in models.
Sure. Yeah. And you're absolutely right. It begins at home. Start internally, make sure internal processes and that people understand what their role is, that there are people who are out probably having more of the actual customer contact, but everybody within is there to support, and we should all be having the same goals anyway. And if we don't, then we know there's going to be lots of problems. So partnering skills actually you can take, and I choose to use the PQ elements in sales. But if somebody in HR or somebody in a different internal function wanted to use them to get teams working better together, they'd be a really useful sort of way of thinking. I say use it more from the sales point of view that, you and I know, if we start talking about the contract, I'm not saying we don't have contracts, but if we start talking about the contract, and this is what you said, Mary, no, this is what you said, Fred, well, this is what's written down here, that's too late. That's too late. The partnership, though it might be written down there, it's not a partnership because the behaviors and the way in which we're doing stuff isn't functioning. It's the fact that we want to commit, we want to work together. My success is going to be based on your success. You can it's all those elements of PQ come because there's still that very human element of we're collaborating and working together.
Right.
So for me, the step of sort of taking partnering and the partnering skills and moving those into sort of talking more about collaboration, I just found that quite easy. It just sort of makes a lot of sense. We want to do stuff together so that 2 and 2 equals 6 or 26 or 600. That's kind of how this stuff makes sense to me and why we want to use it in the modern context.
Going back to what is PQ and how does it help? Did you talk about the different elements of that And I think you talked about 6 different elements, right?
Yeah, 6 different elements. Yeah. So trust. So trust, again, that's the foundation of relationships. That's what's going to help good communication. We can train people and we can help people focus in on all these things. So the trust equation, for instance, so understanding credibility, reliability, intimacy. So doing what we say we're going to do, knowing our stuff, being safe with people's information, all that, but equally doing that with an orientation towards helping other people. We can sit down with salespeople, we can help them understand that and become more trustable. And I know that's a made up word. Yeah. Able to trust, and people able to trust in them. So it's trustworthy, but also being able to give it. So we can do that. Win-win orientation. I mean, yeah, we talk about that all the time, don't we? Yeah, mutual benefits, understanding the outcomes. Both parties have got to be happy with what we're aspiring towards. So we can use that, and we can focus people in on understanding what value means to a customer. Because that for me is, that's another. I've got so many little soapboxes, by the way. I've got to be careful not to get all on all at once. But so many salespeople come and sell value, but they don't really understand what value is, which is what somebody else defines it as, isn't it? It's not what you think it is. It's what they think it is. So it's how do we help salespeople really get that part? But the other interesting stuff that the win-win can do is it can help us negotiate. It can help us discuss. It can help us resolve with conflict. It can help us make decisions better, because we're always focusing in on trying to get that mutual benefit, that balance, if you like. Interdependence, control. I think Spud said that before. So it's just, I am going to have to give an element of this up. As an account manager, I can't do every single thing. I'm going to have to let my team members get involved. I'm going to have to, when the customer says they're going to do something, I'm going to have to trust them to do that. So these are all very much linked in. Okay, so there's 2 elements. We've got the ability to trust. Second, we've got win-win focus. So third, interdependence. Now we know that salespeople quite often are independent, and that's a trait we sometimes kind of look for. But equally, if they hold everything too close and they can't cede control to other people in their team, to the customer, so the customer's going to have to do certain things. Things they have to be comfortable with that level of interdependence. That success is based on other people doing their stuff. The fourth is the self-disclosure and feedback. So again, that's about giving information about yourself. And both parties need to do this. So that's about what expectations have you got? Again, thinking very practically in sales terms, it might be quite good actually in getting the customer to talk about what they want, but we don't always say what we want. So for this to be a good deal for us, this is how it's got to be. That's got to be our part of it. And these are all linked together, aren't they? So this comes back to the win-win type thing. Feedback. So it's getting people to tell us whether we're doing a good job or not. Customers are usually pretty good at that, particularly if we're not doing a good job. But again, we should be looking for it. We should be seeking that. We should be doing quarterly value reviews. Value reviews in my book, not business reviews. But we're looking for that. But we've got to be able, again, as salespeople, is to sometimes say, hey, look, you're not helping me work here. You're saying it's a partnership, but you're not behaving anything like it. Yeah, I'm trying to help you here, but you won't give me any information. How can I help you here? How can we do stuff together if you're not letting me do that? So comfort with change as the 5th element. I think salespeople are change agents. Again, that should be part of the mindset, is that we are trying to more often not move customers from the status quo, where we know that people love to sit there, let's not change anything. It's just easier, less risky. No, but there's the benefits, there's the gains, there's a potential pain if you don't change, but it's helping people to do that. So, again, a good salesperson, we can train them to understand what change is, change curves, where people are potentially on that, how to manage them through that faster. So there's all very tactical training and sort of practical stuff that we can do to help people with all of these pieces. Same with the 6th, with future orientation. Really get in the habit of looking forward. Catch ourselves when we're saying, yeah, well, this didn't used to work in the past. Well, maybe the technology didn't exist in the past. Yeah. maybe it wasn't well used in the past. Maybe we weren't ready for it in the past. So it's a big thing about how we make decisions, but it's also about keeping that sort of focus moving forward. How are we going to make this stuff happen future-wise in what we're trying to achieve in this relationship? So like I said, I've given you a couple of little examples there, but we could break any one of those down and really start to think about, hey, yeah, there's a nice piece of training, or there's something good for a sales meeting, or there's an interesting bit of thinking that's just going to help a salesperson get better. So that's how I use it. That's why I get quite, as you can tell, quite excited about this stuff.
So wait, was that number 5? Comfort with change.
Comfort with change was 5, and then future orientation was 6.
Future orientation. Okay.
Yeah, I said 6. I'm pretty sure I said 6.
All right. I must have totally missed that. My apologies. So okay. So these are all what you have defined as the 6 elements of PQ.
Yeah, so PQ. So I didn't define them. So I came across this research. I came across Steve Dent's work, and where he mapped these and understood it in the deals that he was working on, and has had it validated, had it verified. It's been properly researched and understood, as opposed to stuff written down on the back of a napkin.
Gotcha.
It's been around since the 90s. It's just not really spoken about as much. And when I saw it, I thought, hey, you know what? I need to shine a light on this. It can help salespeople in the modern environment.
Yeah, makes sense. So what I want to understand, though, is how do we bring these 6 elements into what we call modern selling for today, especially in a remote environment? And how do you do that? But before you answer that question, I want everybody to listen to this message from our program sponsor. Opinions in sales are your worst enemy. Here's why. Your business has million-dollar questions that if you could answer with facts, you'd have an unfair advantage. Those questions are, what really separates your best reps from the rest? Why do end-of-quarter deals slip? What messaging is resonating with your ever-changing market? It turns out the truth is buried right underneath your nose. It's found in the customer conversations your team is having every day. Introducing Gong. Gain powerful visibility into your customer conversations. With Gong, you'll win more deals, skyrocket rep success, and gain critical market intelligence that will help you achieve revenue success and win the lion's shares of the wealth. Go to gong.io/demo to get started today. So right before that break, we were talking about how to take these 6 elements you just mentioned: trust, win-win, interdependence, self-disclosure, comfort with change, and future orientation, into leveraging this with the PQ, the partnering quotient, if you would. So talk a little bit about how do you bring these elements into a modern selling environment?
Sure. So first thing is, we don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. Don't know whether you use that expression, but it's don't get rid of stuff that's around and still works. There's a lot of good sales best practice out there. And so what I often do in training is I take people through a little quick whistle-stop tour of the evolution of sales, and kind of how the sort of in the 50s, and this is sort of, it's oversimplified, but it works in that in the 50s, we would see that sales was very process focused. We want tried and tested methods for doing the right thing time and time again. Great. Yeah, we don't want to lose that.
Right.
60s, we'd probably say, that whole psychedelic era, understanding the brain, the mind, and bio personality styles. Absolutely. Look, we would still want to do that. If you can adapt to people, again, it makes sense. We don't get rid of it. 70s, benefit sales, feature advantage benefits. I mean, that for me is a basic building block of sales. Again, we need to have that as part of the armory. 80s was a weird decade, I think, for selling, because it was all about really objection handling and close, and all those kind of, almost combative techniques, which are least useful. I'm not saying they're not useful, but nowhere as useful as when we start to hit in the 90s, consultative selling. Real sea change in sales, understanding customers' needs, how we can help them understand them themselves and do something about it. Add into that, so these kind of layer up as I see it. that in the noughties, we then start thinking about how we can add value as well. And so that value-based selling and value focus was probably the real big thing. And if you go back through old sales training, you can see that this is how stuff was trained. And then if we sort of look in the last decade, in the tens, the word I use, as Fred word, it's sales stature. It's kind of saying, look, these are the things that salespeople do, but you've got to demonstrate that you're the person that can do it. Yeah, you've got to demonstrate that, yes, my company's got all those resources and the company gets it, but I'm the guy that's going to be working with you and bringing the insight and understanding you and doing that. So then 20s, as I say, for me, that's all about collaboration. It's taking these things and now using this mindset, this partnering mindset, bringing these skills into what we do. So it's kind of like we have PQ on one hand, we've got all these good sales practices that we don't want to throw away on the other, and we've got to mesh them together. We've got to make sure that this sort of mesh, if you like, is how we make sure stuff is really up to date. And so in the book, I just use the value framework for that. So I call it a framework rather than a methodology or process or whatever, because it involves lots of elements taken from lots of other good things. And it's about picking the right things that are going to work for you. So an external guy in an enterprise sale might be using slightly different things to more of an internal guy. Ultimately, the ethos would be the same. PQ would still be running through it. The actual practice might be slightly different. But if we look at the framework and the elements of the value framework, VALUE, we need to validate the sale. So old-fashioned terminology might be qualify. So we've got to make sure it actually is an opportunity. We are going after real business. It's not just a dream. We'd use the sort of Scotsman, ManTC, Bant, Medic. I don't know, whichever you prefer. Everyone's got a preferred, yeah. But you can use those. But I would say, well, let's make sure we've got an element of psychological qualification in there. Are they the kind of business that are going to be able to work in this way with us? We can move into A for align. So align. This is about your homework. This is about
now you're moving into the value framework.
The value framework. So V for validate, A for align. So again, this is homework. This is sort of understanding who's who in the potential buying committee or decision making unit. It's thinking, where could I bring some value here potentially? So it's doing trend analysis, it's doing SWOT analysis, it's doing the thinking that you can bring to the party to show that you've got something of interest for the customer. Mm-hmm. And as we know now, that's table stakes. If you're not doing that, they're not even going to entertain a conversation, are they really? So it's worth spending time in that alignment phase. This is how we could work together. So that we can move into the L for leverage. We take that information, we leverage that into our conversations. So we get the conversation. I know you guys are really hot in that. You've done all your homework, but you've got to like earn the right. And then when you've got the conversation, you've got to make sure it's a good one. Yeah. And you've got to use the right behaviors, the right skills to, whether it's just a sort of one-off face-to-face, Zoom, whatever, to make sure we're now getting that right dialogue, which helps us build value together, understand how we can put something in practice that we then U for underpin. So we underpinning is supporting something. It's proving that this is the right way ahead. And this is how we can work on stuff together. Mutual action plans seem to be the hot thing in town for doing that. And they naturally move into the E for evolve and moving the relationship forward and keeping that value coming and starting to get more of what a partnership looks like.
And
long answer to a short question. You bring the PQ with the best practice in sales, value framework, knits them together, and you use your sort of whatever flavors you want to bake into that, because it could be something that you're comfortable with, it's worked well for you. We're not throwing that stuff away. It's not saying, oh, you've got to rip up your old playbooks. This stuff, my thinking is really just to help you add that extra element to what they're probably all doing quite successfully already.
And so thinking about this value framework, as a rep, I'm going to validate, align, leverage, the underpin, and evolve. Where am I using this at? Am I using this when you say like in the partnering aspect? Am I using this with the customer? Am I using this internally? Am I documenting this? Like, how do I go about leveraging this framework?
Sure. So the framework, as the name implies, it's your guide. It's giving you what you can hang your activities on. So again, you'll probably have stuff that already exists, and you think actually that fits in there. As I said, the qualification criteria. If you've got your favoured methodology or way that you weigh up a potential deal, fine. That would fit in there. So if you've got stuff and it's working, don't throw it away. That's kind of a really important part for me. But if while you're starting to kind of do this audit and this understanding of this is how we need to operate, actually, we don't really check opportunities properly. We just go chasing after everything. That's where you can add some value by saying, well, okay, let's redefine that. Let's rebuild that. Yeah. How do we approach companies? Oh, we sit and do hundreds of phone calls a day. You'd say, well, that's probably not the smartest way to do it. Don't throw the cold call away, but make it warmer. Think about how you can add other elements in. So you can, at each of those parts of the framework, just make sure that we're really baking in, because I think of it as a cake sometimes. We're baking a cake and we want it to be the best cake because it's got all of our favorite bits in, making sure we've got all those correct elements. And that's how I see the thing working. So,
and again, internal or external only, or both?
Both. If somebody said to me, well, I want to use that as a process. That looks like a process. I said, fine. If that's going to work for you, do it like that. You can use that to validate. So yes, you do that yourself. You've got your own checklist. Yes, you've got your whatever checklist for information that you're going to need. You've got a 2-page plan. You've got whatever CRM or enablement platform is driving you to put those bits of elements in. Great. Then you go and you have a meeting. Okay. Hopefully you've got a way in which you run meetings. If you haven't, again, we can help you with it. Underpin, you've got a proposal format. You've got a way in which you do presentations. You've got all of those fits. So again, it could be used across an organization to align the whole of the operation. It could be used for an individual to work out how they're going to operate. It works on all those different levels.
Interesting. And so the whole idea behind the partnering quotient or partnering skills is to help you facilitate selling more deals once you're engaged in a conversation.
Yeah, I think that
or does this framework or the 6 elements you mentioned about partnering quotient, does any of this help you create more sales conversations? Or which area am I using in? Creating more sales conversations or from hello to close?
Well, I was going to say, because I know you talk about the hello after the hello. So you can certainly use this stuff after hello, because that's where you really get to sort of flex the interpersonal skills. And a lot of that will come out in the behaviors and the way in which you operate. And your mindset has the effect on that. So hopefully that's reasonably clear. Now, does it help us get more business? Does it help us get to the hello? I think it does. Because I think if you've got that mindset of that is the kind of business that I'm looking for, that's how I operate, you start to qualify better. So you go after opportunities which fit your template, fit your ICP to be able to say, well, yeah, because that's why they're attractive to us. Because looking at how they work, looking at how they sell, looking at how their people are, we've got a nice kind of match here. We can see ourselves working together there. Now, I'd go even further and say, actually, if you're really serious about this stuff and you're saying this is how we operate, we do our things with this in mind, I think that can become part of your proposition. You can demonstrate that that's the way we work. And so I was working with an organization that's a very clever set of engineers. They do sort of engineering consultancy. They help manufacturers make their car engines go better. But like the really big, expensive, fast car engines, they give them to try and get that extra horsepower out and less emissions and things. And they were telling me, we're doing the sales training. They're saying, "Oh yeah, we've got this really good opportunity that so and so want to partner with us." I said, "Oh, what are you going to say to them then?" I said, "Well, we're going to tell them we've got the best engineers, we've got the best software, we've got the best track for testing stuff on, we've got the best." I went, "Brilliant. That'll get you the work," because the guys across the road and literally there is a competitor across the road, they're going to go, oh no, you're not talking to them, are you? Their engineers are better than ours. Their software's better than ours. Our equipment's a bit rubbish. Whatever they say, they're going to be pretty much pitching themselves as the same. And truth or not, the customer is going to go, I can't really tell the difference here.
Right.
Very similar. So why not say, you're talking about a partnership, Mr. Big Car Manufacturer. Yeah. When we say partnership, we actually mean what we say. Yeah. Yeah. We train our people in partnering. We take them through the partnering skills. They understand it. They will know how to build trust faster, how to share information better, how to make decisions which are mutually beneficial, how to keep focus on what it is we're trying to achieve in the longer term. We train them in that. That's what you get when you work with us. Because we know it makes for a better deal and we can start to get results faster. In fact, we believe in it so much, work with us and we will train your people in it. Not only will our people be trained, it will get your guys doing it so they can make those partnerships, those relationships, I'm happy with that word as well, even faster. So actually it can become part of your initial proposition and what you're using when you're saying, hey, talk to me because we're different to the other people. I think it can go right back to that and make your whole prospecting different because you're saying something different. Because not everyone is saying this. Everyone says they do partnering. That word's thrown around willy-nilly. But to actually say, well, no, when we say partnering, this is how we do it and this is what backs it up, gives you something a little bit different to say, I think.
Excellent. I appreciate some of those insights there on helping us to think about partnering, especially, as we are in the 2021 year and thinking about remote selling and how do we better partner with our customers? How do we partner with them to accelerate deals or to grow an existing account as well, right? All these things are applicable. Fred, if someone wants to connect with you, what's the best way? Is it through Twitter? Is it through LinkedIn?
LinkedIn is usually the best. Yeah, we all spend a lot of time on LinkedIn now, and my profile is there, Fred Copestake. So yeah, connect with me on that. Tell me that you heard me talking to you. I'll give you extra special attention. No. LinkedIn's the best way I'd suggest. Yeah.
So for those of you that are listening in, it's Fred Copestake, Copestake. And of course, we'll put his profile in the show notes as well, so you can link back to that. Make sure when you reach out to Fred that you tell him you heard him on the Modern Selling podcast. And of course, Fred, as customary, the question I want to ask you is your all-time favorite movie. What is it?
Oh, I knew you were going to ask this as well. I've been panicking about that more than any other question that you might have thrown at me, because it changes, doesn't it?
It can. Mine has been the same one for a long time.
Oh, mine hasn't. I've got various ones. I'll tell you what I'm going to go for. I'm going to go for Terminator. I used to love Terminator. Absolutely. Probably, and it just seems quite apt, doesn't it, with sort of a lot of the stuff that's now around to help us with selling. That maybe Terminator will be back at some stage. We're getting closer to Skynet.
Yeah, gotcha. Good.
Yeah, I'm going to say that.
Terminator it is, with Mr. Arnold Schwarzenegger. And I don't know if that voice sounds like him, but nonetheless, I'll be back. And don't worry, don't turn that dial. Make sure you can reach out to Fred. Listen to this very important message right now to all of my listeners at Modern Selling Podcast. Sales managers, before you go, does it feel like everything is a priority and everyone is asking for your time and attention? Here's a free video training that will help you manage your time, double your income, and will skyrocket your team's success. It's called the Sales Management Matrix. You'll learn exactly how to spend your time for the highest revenue return possible. Go to gong.io/matrix to get the free 19-minute video training. Again, that's gong.io/matrix. Go there now, and we'll see you in the next episode. Thanks for listening to the Modern Selling Podcast. Please do me a huge favor and give the Modern Selling Podcast a rating and review on iTunes. I would appreciate it. Also, if you want to easily find our show, just go to themodernsellingpodcast.com. Hey, Since you'll be on our site, be sure to check out our Modern Marketing Engine podcast hosted by my co-founder and CMO, Bernie Borges. Thanks for listening in, and until the next episode, good selling.